Get out of my house. Victoria's voice echoed through the marble halls of the mansion, her perfectly manicured finger pointing at the door. I stood there, one hand resting on my 8-month pregnant belly, the other gripping the banister for support. This isn't your house, Victoria, I said calmly, watching her face turn an interesting shade of red. And I'm not leaving. My name is Olivia, and at 32, I found myself facing off against my mother-in-law while carrying her grandchild. The same woman who'd welcomed me into the family with fake smiles and backhanded compliments 5 years ago was now trying to throw me out of my own home. Marcus needs someone younger, someone who understands his needs. Victoria spat, her designer dress rustling as she moved closer. Emma's already 3 months pregnant, and she's only 24. You're practically ancient. The mention of Emma, my husband's mistress, should have hurt more than it did. But I'd known about her for months, quietly gathering evidence while Marcus thought he was being clever with his late-night business meetings and weekend conferences. And does Emma know about the prenup? I asked, watching Victoria's smug expression falter slightly. Or about the trust fund conditions? Victoria's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? Marcus told me he had that prenup voided months ago. I couldn't help but laugh, the sound echoing off the high ceilings. Of course he did. Marcus has always been good at telling people what they want to hear. Just like he told you this house belongs to him. The front door opened and Marcus walked in, his suit slightly rumpled, Emma clinging to his arm. She was pretty and that young, trying too hard way, her baby bump barely visible under her tight dress. The triumphant smile on her face dimmed when she saw me still standing there. Mom, I thought you were handling this, Marcus said, not even looking at me. The man I'd loved for 8 years, who'd cried when we first heard our baby's heartbeat, couldn't even meet my eyes. Oh, she's handling it exactly how I expected, I replied, pulling an envelope from my pocket. But before anyone else tries to throw me out of my house, you might want to read this. Marcus snatched the envelope, his hands shaking slightly as he pulled out the documents inside. I watched his face pale as he read, Victoria peering over his shoulder. This can't be right, he stammered. What is it? Emma asked, her voice high and nervous. The house, Victoria whispered, her eyes wide with shock. It's in Olivia's name. Has been since before the marriage. I smiled, remembering the day my grandmother had transferred the property to me. Nana always said a smart woman protects herself. The prenup you thought you voided? That was a copy. The real one is filed with 3 separate law firms. But the trust fund, Marcus sputtered. My inheritance is contingent on you staying faithfully married to your first wife until your 10th anniversary, I finished for him. Your father wasn't as trusting as you thought, Marcus. He'd seen too many of his friends' sons waste family fortunes on younger women. Emma's grip on Marcus's arm loosened. You told me you were wealthy, she accused. That we'd live in this mansion after the divorce. He told you what you wanted to hear, I said, almost feeling sorry for her. Almost, just like he told me he was working late all those nights he was with you. Victoria stepped forward, her composure cracking. You planned this. You've been planning this all along. No, Victoria. I planned to build a life with your son. To raise our child in this house. You and Marcus were the ones with plans. I rubbed my belly as the baby kicked, drawing strength from the movement. I just made sure I was protected when those plans came to light. We can figure this out, Marcus said quickly, his eyes darting between me and Emma. We can come to some arrangement. The only arrangement, I cut him off, is that you have exactly 1 hour to pack your things and leave. All of you. The security team has been notified, and they know who owns this house. You can't do this, Victoria shrieked. That's my grandchild. Yes, it is, I agreed. And when this baby arrives, they'll know exactly who stood by them and who tried to throw their pregnant mother out of her own home. Emma was already backing toward the door, her dream of playing Lady of the Manor crumbling before her eyes. Marcus looked lost, probably realizing for the first time that his carefully constructed house of cards was falling apart. 1 hour, I repeated, turning to climb the stairs. After that, the police will be happy to escort you out. This isn't over, Victoria called after me. We'll fight this. I paused at the top of the stairs, looking down at the 3 people who thought they could discard me so easily. You're right, Victoria. It's not over. Because tomorrow, the family lawyer will be delivering some very interesting documents to the trust fund managers. I wonder how they'll feel about Marcus violating every condition his father put in place. The silence that followed was deafening. I walked to my bedroom in my house, and sat in the window seat, watching as Marcus and Emma hurriedly threw bags into his car 30 minutes later. Victoria stood on the driveway, still in shock, probably trying to figure out how her perfect plan had backfired so spectacularly. As they drove away, I felt the baby kick again. "Don't worry, little one," I whispered, resting my hand on my belly. "Mommy made sure it will be just fine." What they didn't know was that this was just the beginning. Tomorrow, when the trust fund managers received proof of Marcus's infidelity and the pregnancy he conceived while still married to me, the real fallout would begin. Victoria's dreams of her son inheriting control of the family fortune would crumble like a house of cards. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about being prepared and watching as those who underestimated you realize their mistake too late. I picked up my phone and dialed my grandmother's number. She answered on the second ring, her voice warm and knowing. "Is it done?" she asked. "Yes, Nana," I replied, watching the sunset paint the gardens in shades of gold. "They're gone." "Good girl," she said proudly. "Now, shall we discuss what to do with that trust fund once Marcus is officially disinherited?" I smiled, thinking of all the plans I had for my child's future. "Actually, Nana, I have some ideas about that." The next morning, I sat in my grandmother's sunlit kitchen, watching her prepare her famous chamomile tea. At 75, Nana was still sharp as a tack and twice as cunning. She taught me everything I knew about protecting myself in a world that often underestimated women. "James called," she said, sliding a cup towards me. James was the family lawyer, a man who'd watched Marcus's father build his empire and had no patience for entitled sons who thought they could circumvent their father's wishes. "The trust fund managers were very interested in the evidence you gathered." I sipped my tea, remembering all the late nights I'd spent documenting Marcus's indiscretions. The hotel receipts, the bank statements showing purchases from luxury boutiques that certainly weren't for me, the time-stamped photos of his not-so-secret meetings with Emma. How did they take it? Let's just say Marcus won't be getting his hands on that money anytime soon. Nana's eyes twinkled. His father's conditions were very specific. Faithfulness until your 10th anniversary wasn't just a suggestion. It was legally binding. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. "You've ruined everything. Marcus is devastated. How dare you do this to our family?" I showed the message to Nana, who snorted. That woman never did understand the meaning of consequences. "How's the little one this morning?" As if on cue, the baby kicked. "Active," I smiled, rubbing my belly. "Just like their mother." The doorbell rang, and Nana's housekeeper appeared moments later with an unexpected visitor. Emma. She looked different from yesterday, her carefully maintained facade cracking around the edges. "I need to talk to you," she said, wringing her hands. "Please." Nana raised an eyebrow but nodded, stepping out to give us privacy. I gestured for Emma to sit. "Marcus lied to me," she blurted out, tears welling in her eyes. "About everything. The money, the house, his marriage. He told me you were separated, that you were living off his generosity. He said once the baby came, we'd be a real family." I pushed a box of tissues across the table. "And now you know the truth." "Victoria came to my apartment this morning," Emma continued. "She was furious, saying I'd ruined her son's inheritance. She demanded she wanted me to." She broke down, unable to finish. "Let me guess," I said, feeling a mix of pity and vindication. "She wanted you to get rid of the baby." Emma nodded, her shoulders shaking. "She said it would ruin everything, that no one could know." Marcus just stood there, letting her say those horrible things. "I thought you loved me." "Marcus loves himself," I replied quietly. "Everything else is just a means to an end." "I don't know what to do," she whispered. "I can't raise a baby alone." I lost my job because Victoria told the board I was morally compromised. I studied the young woman before me, seeing past the mistress to someone who'd been manipulated just as much as I had, just in different ways. "Do you want this baby?" She looked up, surprised by the question. "Yes," she said firmly. "Whatever else happens, yes." I reached into my bag and pulled out a business card. "This is my lawyer's number. She specializes in family law. Call her. Marcus might not want to be a father to your child, but he will be financially responsible." "Why are you helping me?" Emma asked, genuinely confused. "Because my child will have a half-sibling, And I don't believe in punishing children for their parents' mistakes. I handed her another card. This is my number. If Victoria or Marcus threatens you again, call me. After Emma left, Nana returned, looking thoughtful. That was unexpected, she said, refilling our teacups. Life usually is, I replied. Did you know Marcus's father had a second family? That's why he put those conditions in the trust fund. He didn't want his son repeating his mistakes. Nana nodded. History has a way of repeating itself when we don't learn from it. Speaking of which, Victoria's been calling the house all morning, demanding to speak with you. Let her, I said, feeling stronger than I had in months. I have nothing to hide. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone rang, Victoria's number flashing on the screen. I answered, putting it on speaker. How dare you turn that little tramp against us? She hissed. After everything we've done for you. You mean like trying to throw me out of my house while I'm 8 months pregnant? I asked calmly. Or perhaps you mean threatening your unborn grandchild's sibling. That thing is not my grandchild. My grandchild is the one you're carrying. No, Victoria, I said firmly. After yesterday, you've lost the right to claim any connection to my child. As for Emma's baby, they're innocent in all this. Unlike you. We'll fight this, she threatened. Marcus knows people. We'll contest everything. Go ahead, I replied. I'm sure the trust fund managers would love to hear you explain why you think your son deserves to inherit after violating every condition his father put in place. I'm sure the board at Emma's company would be interested in hearing about your threats. Should I continue? The silence on the other end was telling. You've lost, Victoria, I said quietly. The only question now is how much more damage you want to do to your family's reputation before you accept that. She hung up without another word. Nana reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You did good, child. Now, shall we discuss the nursery? That mansion of yours needs some brightening up. I smiled, feeling the weight of the past months lifting. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just about winning. It's about staying true to yourself while watching others reveal who they really are. The baby kicked again, and I knew that whatever came next, we would face it together, stronger for having weathered this storm. Yes, I said to Nana, let's talk about the future. 3 months later, I sat in the hospital room, holding my newborn daughter Lily, while Nana beamed proudly beside me. The delivery had been smooth, and my little girl was perfect, a head full of dark hair and her mother's determination, evident in her strong grip on my finger. The past months had brought changes I never expected. Emma had taken my advice and contacted the lawyer. She was now set up in a comfortable apartment, her prenatal care covered, and a solid support system in place. We weren't friends exactly, but we'd reached an understanding. Our children would be siblings, and that connection deserved respect. Marcus, on the other hand, had spiraled. After the trust fund managers officially revoked his inheritance, he'd moved back in with Victoria, his dreams of luxury living with his young girlfriend shattered. Last I heard, he was working as a junior associate at a small firm, the only place that would hire him after word of his behavior spread through our social circle. A soft knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was James, the family lawyer, his eyes twinkling as he looked at Lily. She's beautiful, he said, then cleared his throat. I have some papers for you to sign when you're feeling up to it. The trust fund managers have made their final decision. I nodded, having expected this. What's the verdict? Given Marcus's violation of the terms and your grandmother's influence, they've decided to transfer the entire trust to Lily. He smiled. With you as executor, of course. They felt it was fitting, like father like daughter, but this time in the right hands. Victoria had tried to fight it, of course. She'd hired lawyers, threatened lawsuits, even attempted to claim I had tricked Marcus into violating the trust conditions. But evidence doesn't lie, and her desperate attempts only served to further damage their reputation. There's something else, James continued, pulling out another envelope. Emma had her baby last week, a boy. She's named you as godmother. This surprised me. Emma and I had maintained a cordial relationship, but this was unexpected. Why? She said you were the only one who treated her with dignity when everything fell apart. James explained. She wants her son to have someone like that in his life. Nana squeezed my hand. Sometimes the family we choose is stronger than the family we're born into. As if to emphasize the point, my phone lit up with a message from Emma, A photo of her son, tiny and perfect, with the caption, "Meet your sister, Lily." I looked down at my daughter, peaceful in my arms, and felt a surge of gratitude. Not for the money or the house or even the satisfaction of seeing justice served, but for the clarity this whole ordeal had brought. I knew now what kind of mother I wanted to be: strong, compassionate, and wise enough to break cycles of toxicity. Victoria had tried one last time to reach out, showing up at the mansion a week before my due date. She'd switched tactics, playing the repentant grandmother, claiming she'd only wanted what was best for her son. "You can't keep me from my grandchild," she pleaded. "No," I'd replied, "your actions did that. But if someday you can prove you've changed, really changed, maybe we can discuss supervised visits. Until then, Lily deserves better than what you did to her mother." Now cradling my daughter in the quiet hospital room, I knew I'd made the right choice. Lily would grow up knowing her worth, understanding that strength comes in many forms, and that sometimes the biggest victories come not from destroying others, but from rising above their attempts to destroy you. Nana took Lily in her arms, humming softly. "You know," she said, "your grandfather would be proud. He built his fortune hoping it would protect his family. Now it finally will." James excused himself, leaving us to our quiet celebration. As the afternoon sun painted the room in warm light, I thought about the future ahead. The mansion would be filled with children's laughter, not just Lily's, but her brother's too when he visited. There would be birthday parties and holidays where both children would be welcomed, where the mistakes of their parents wouldn't shadow their relationships. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Marcus. "I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better." 5 years too late, but at least he finally learned something. I didn't respond. Some chapters are better left closed. Looking at Lily, I smiled. "Welcome to the world, little one. You're going to change it." And as my daughter gripped my finger with her tiny hand, I knew that sometimes the happy endings we get aren't the ones we planned for. They're better. Because they're earned, shaped by our choices, our strength, and our ability to rise above those who tried to bring us down. Nana was right. The family we choose, the boundaries we set, and the grace we show in victory say more about us than any revenge ever could. Lily would grow up knowing that story, understanding that true strength lies not in power over others, but in remaining true to yourself when others try to break you. And that perhaps was the greatest victory of all.